welcome! I'm Michaela. This time I'm working on a drawing of Cleo Cazo, also known as RatCatcher 2. This is obviously the Suicide Squad 21 version, because as far as I can tell, she's a movie invention. I really only keep track of a few current comics. I'm still mad about Ghost Spider getting cancelled. And I'm not that well versed in what came before I jumped into comics, so to remedy this, I did as much Googling on the matter as I could, but I got absolutely no results for any Cleo Cazo in DC Comics, so movie only as far as I can tell. I'm not going to give a review, but I would like to share my general spoiler-free thoughts on the movie. Keep in mind to take my opinion with a grain of salt, because despite much criticism of the 2016 movie, I still enjoyed it. I wasn't blown away by it, but I had a decent amount of fun with it, even if I understand how it's bad on a technical level. I still don't like Jared Leto, and will begrudgingly watch Morbius anyway. Thankfully he's not in this one, so don't worry. Or if you're a fan of his, just sit there and be disappointed, I guess. Anyway, this movie was much better. It definitely had a more comedic tone, and I think for me it was more hits than misses. Unfortunately, a few of the jokes that were misses went on just a bit too long. It didn't really bother me, just giving my opinion. Additionally, I did really hate how almost every joke centering Harley that I remember just made her seem stupid. Like, I'm all for playing up being dumb for a joke. I do that myself sometimes. But it didn't seem like they knew how to do any other kind of joke with her. Though, thankfully, they didn't regress on Harley's actual character development from Birds of Prey. Regardless, I certainly left caring about characters I didn't think I would, and 100% agree with this statement that that's a terrible idea. There's a lot of dying in this movie. Part of the marketing was literally them telling you not to get attached. I didn't expect to remotely give a hoot about Polka Dot Man though, so that was weird. King Shark was wonderful. I obviously very much love this dear rat girl, and her talking about the first RatCatcher was top-notch. As for Bloodshot, during his introduction, you can very easily tell where he was pasted over top of where Deadshot was supposed to be. But after that bit, he definitely stood on his own. This movie reversed my thoughts about the 2016 version of Rick Flag, but I don't want to really talk much more about that or the other characters, in fear I'll spoil something by accident. On another note, the pacing was really weird. Sometimes the movie certainly benefited from this, like when you're getting to know the main cast, but other times it just feels a little off. Overall, it was a good movie though. I liked the characters, liked the general plot and the message they were trying to go for, and I might watch it again a few times, but nothing particularly jumps it ahead of a lot of other movies either. If you enjoyed the trailer, I'd recommend it. I guess this is possibly a little lackluster way to end this segment, but honestly, the idea that every piece of media has to be either the best or worst of its genre is really just a marketing gimmick. I'm not a corporation trying to pry your money away by getting you to watch it, and I'm not a comic or movie YouTuber, so no one really puts their stock in what they'll probably like based on anything I say. I just draw what I want to see. I'm not really bound to having a mass appeal opinion. I don't even directly talk about what I'm drawing half the time. However, speaking of the drawing itself, I really liked how it came out. I had a lot of fun with the sketching. Everything after that had me on edge. But the intense stress did remind me to take breaks, like how I know I'm supposed to, but never do. For the record, line art tends to always make me want to scream. I just hate it. Also, the more proud of a piece I am, the more of a nightmare it is to color select and shade. Especially on backgrounds. The second I start, I suddenly forget what colors are. I've seen some people recommend to stop doing color or line art if you don't enjoy that process, which I think is kind of bad advice. Sometimes that looks nice in other people's art, but I like my art style better when it's clean lines and color. Sure, I might have fun sketching, but it's not the final result that I want. Occasionally, if my hand decides to work right, my line art can even be enjoyable too. Flat coloring is always fun, which is why sometimes I'll pick random colors before I pick final ones. Didn't do that on this piece though, because I expected it to be easier for some reason. Anyway, I like how much more shape and texture I can show off with the shading, which I only do shading if I have, colors to put it on. Plus, even if it's not something I enjoy the entire time, I feel like I get way more attached to my art that turns out good if I struggled with it along the way. It feels more like I earned it rather than it just being a fluke. Every artist has drawn or created something that randomly exceeds their current limitations, and it just feels unreal. Then it gets in your head that all your art should look that good because that one didn't cause any trouble. So when you move on to the next piece and it inevitably doesn't live up to your new expectations, it really hits your confidence in your abilities. However, with this piece, I put so much extra effort into it. It should be this good. If the next piece doesn't turn out as well, it'd be because I lack the passion for that drawing to be put into the work to match this one. I'm not saying that I automatically won't. I really hope I do keep up this momentum. It's just a mindset that sets you up to be nicer to yourself versus when it is a fluke. I did try my best to capture the actress's likeness. It's definitely something I struggle with. Maybe I didn't get her 100%, but you can certainly tell it's her, which is a win in my book. Despite the fact that I had several references pulled up, the costume probably isn't that accurate. Everything she wears is so dark, I couldn't tell what on earth was going on. Still think it looks cool, but I'd kill for them to release a Halloween costume just so I can look at how every piece is put together. As for my next speed paint, I have the finished recordings of a drawing of Harley Quinn's newest comic outfit, and some concept art for my own version of Spider-Man. I did this Spider-Man drawing on stream, but no one showed up, so it's getting a speed paint. Though I didn't record the first part that I did on Twitch. Either way, I drew them a few weeks ago, but I didn't want to wait to show this one, so they got bumped in the schedule. I could also do a sketchbook tour for the one I finished a few months ago. So yeah, just let me know what you'd like to see first. I haven't written the scripts for either speed paint yet, so it doesn't really matter. I did go ahead and do the basic editing though. Alright, before I go, I'm gonna just read the Wikipedia article for the comic book RatCatcher because I feel like it and you can't stop me. Otis Flanagan used to work as a rat catcher in the Gotham City Sanitation Department and always claimed he could train rats to attack. Flanagan was eventually arrested and spent 10 years in prison after stabbing a man to death in a street fight, as you do. After his release, Flanagan kidnapped the 4 officials responsible for his arrest and subsequent sentence. He took his prisoners to a hideout located in the city's sewers, where he kept them for 5 years. During this period, Flanagan developed his criminal alter ego as RatCatcher. Wearing protective equipment and using his animal training skills, RatCatcher gathered a large mischief of rats which he used to torture and restrain his prisoners. After 5 years of captivity, one of RatCatcher's prisoners managed to escape, although the RatCatcher sent his army of rats to kill him. The man was killed upon reaching the surface, and his body was found by Batman with all the rats back to his hideout. Forced to face the Dark Knight, Flanagan was obviously outmatched once Batman got rid of all the rats, and RatCatcher was subsequently delivered to the authorities once again. After spending time in prison, Flanagan escaped his parole hearing by using a flute that he carved to control rats at a high-pitched frequency. His plans for Gotham were ruined by Dick Grayson, who had replaced Bruce as Batman at the time, and he was captured again. When Infinite Crisis began, the RatCatcher was being protected by the homeless community in addition to his rat friends. When he was discovered and being taken away, one of the homeless attempted to aid Flanagan, but was easily knocked aside by the arresting officers. What a jerk. The man turned out to be an OMAC in hiding, and the injury apparently initiated its release. The OMAC identified the RatCatcher as a gamma-level threat and vaporized him. So that sucks. Murdered by the guy who wanted to save you. In the New 52's rebooted DC continuity, RatCatcher first appears in the series Batman Eternal as part of a plan to subtly destabilize Gotham via public service catastrophes. And then the article just ends there. I assume he fails, but I didn't get that far back when I was reading the New 52. I know I could technically find the issues online or on some site that'd probably give me a virus, or at the very least some very distasteful ads. I even know where to go, but I just prefer to actually buy comics, so it was hard to keep up back then. Easier now that I'm an actual adult with a job, though. Well, since that's all I had left to say, I upload on the 1st and 15th of every month, so if you want to see that, please subscribe or leave a like and comment for the all-powerful, unmatchable YouTube algorithm. I've got a link to my commissions in the description if you want me to draw something for you, and if you just want to donate and support me, I've got my Ko-fi right next to it. Thanks for watching, and farewell.